Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli back out in the shop with a brand new video for you today. And in today's shop, we're going to be talking about 2 new unique ways to rig a bluegill-shaped swimbait, otherwise known as the Gilly. This is a really cool one because I kind of knew in my heart when the Gilly launched about 3 years ago, there were certain ways that I fished it. But I knew when this thing launched, it was gonna open up a whole new way of rigging the bait and fishing the bait. And I want to talk to you today about 2 new secret ways to rig the Gilly. First of all, I do want to talk a little bit about why this Gilly is so good. And if you've seen the bait, it is a bait that comes in 3 sizes, and it is a perfect imitator of a panfish, right? It's got more of that oval-shaped body. And so whether you're using this brand, the Berkley Powerbait Gilly, or another brand, that shape, that silhouette, is really why this bait is so good, right? A panfish, a bluegill, a sunfish, a little crappie, a little rock bass, that's a key part of a bass's diet. So, when you think about a lot of the other lures that we fish, they're long, they're slender, they're thin. They do a great job of mimicking thin forage, right? Shad and minnows and stuff like that. That profile, that shape, is really the key. Before we get into these new 2 secret ways to rig the Gilly, I did want to step back and say, please watch some of the other videos on the Gilly where we talk about the more traditional rigging styles. Side rigged, Texas rigged, swim bait hook, weightless, Carolina rig, a short leader drop shot. So many good rigging techniques for that Gilly, in addition to these new 2 secret techniques. All right, let's get into it, guys. The first one I want to talk about is a way to rig this Gilly that gives it a unique action, that gives you a little more flexibility on depth, okay? And then last but not least, the nice thing about this rigging technique is it keeps the bait perfectly balanced, perfectly anatomically correct. And I've seen in a lot of the comments, some people having problems with the bait running to the side or whatever. When you rig it like this, dude, it stays straight, just like that, just like a natural bluegill. And this technique is perfect for the 2 smaller sizes of the Gilly. So the 90, which is just a little, I guess I would call it like a 3.5 inch size. And it's also great for the 110. So it's perfect for the 2 smaller sizes. And in this technique, we're gonna nose hook that Gilly with a weighted Wacky jig head. This is the great thing because a weighted Wacky jig head is something you would never think of to fish with the Gilly, right? That's designed for soft stick baits, right? A weighted Wacky jig head is designed for power bait generals, max scent generals, Senkos, yum dingers, right? You hook it in the middle, you Wacky rig it. That's what that head is designed for. But this head's also going to help us rig this bait in a secret way. On sizes, guys, I like the smaller sizes. A 16th, 1/8, 3/16, no heavier than 1/4. But the 1/8 and the 3/16 are my 2 favorite sizes. By the way, this is just a Berkley Fusion Wacky jig head. And some have little fiber guards, some don't. The nice thing about the Berkley Fusion Wacky weighted jig head is that it's got these 2 little metal guards. If you're fishing around cover, leave them on. If you're fishing in open water, just use a side cutters or a scissors and cut those thin little wires off, okay? So a Wacky jig head. This is the 90, but again, we can use it with the 110. And then the one additional thing I do on this nose hooking technique is I use a little corkscrew. These are just little keeper springs. Go to Tackle Warehouse. There's a lot of these out there. On the 90, I use the small size little keeper corkscrew. On the 110, I use the medium size keeper corkscrew. But basically, I'm just going to push that into the nose, and I'm going to screw that all the way down into the nose until it totally disappears, okay? All right, here's the beauty, guys. Now we're going to get our weighted Wacky jig head, and we are literally going to nose hook that gilly, okay? When you look at the bottom of the gilly, you're going to see a little circle on the bottom chin of that bait, okay? You're going to see a little circle on the bottom chin. Go through that circle and push it around. Remember, you're going through the spring, so that's going to help keep it straight, and it's also going to help that bait to stop. When a fish eats it, it won't pull off the hook as easy, okay? So that spring has double use. But once it's on there, look at that, guys. Anatomically correct. And this thing on the fall or reel will just swim just like a bluegill. Just like a bluegill trying to get away. A soft retrieve, slow retrieve, will make that tail just wag. A faster retrieve, you'll really get that tail kick. And the big thing I love about this nose-hooked Wacky style, weighted Wacky style with the gilly, is the way it falls. So you've heard me say this before, but ball and chain, the ball is the weight, the chain is the hook. It's going to pull that bait down. As it falls on a semi-slack line, that tail's flopping. It looks just like a bluegill descending to the bottom, okay? I love to fish the 90 size on a spinning rod and reel, and I like to fish the 110 on a lighter casting setup. But either way, this is going to allow that bait maximum action. It's going to keep it in that position no matter how you fish it, and it has a lot of action on the fall. And you can fish this a lot of ways. You heard me say it before. Versatility. You know, when the gilly's rigged weightless, it's great in shallow water. It is great in shallow water. But when you get deeper, it's hard to get that bait down. With a 1/16 or an 1/8 or a 3/16 weight, I have control. And I can fish it 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15. I can fish it vertical. I can fish it horizontal. It's a great way to fish this bait and have more control. Okay, so secret technique number 1 for the gilly is a weighted Wacky nose hook style. Okay, great way, different way to fish the gilly. All right, guys, let's get to number 2. And you have maybe heard me mention this before, but now that we're a couple years into this bait, I really want to talk to you about rigging the gilly on a scrounger head or on a chatterbait, okay? And it's another way to get that bait to sit correct, right? To sit anatomically correct. This is the 110 size. I really like, out of the 3 sizes, I like the 110 the best for my scrounger rigging and my chatterbait rigging, okay? So there we got the 110 on a scrounger, and you could really see how that bait sits correctly. If you're familiar with this bait, you know that half of that bait has a solid body, but the back half of the gilly is thin. It's thin because it's die cut. It's die stamped. And when we rig it on a scrounger or a chatterbait, it's going to allow that body to undulate, okay? Think of how many people fish a fluke style soft plastic on the back of a scrounger? How many people fish a Zako or a Swimbait, a boot tail Swimbait on the back of their chatterbait? They're great trailers, but they're long and thin. When you're imitating long and thin bait fish, they're great trailers for scroungers and chatterbaits. But if you get put in a position, in a situation where they're eating bluegills, look at the profile. We said it at the beginning of this video. I'm going to say it again. These bluegill style baits, like the Power Bait Gilly, the action is key. The scent is key. But the shape is key. So now we have a bluegill silhouette on a scrounger, right? Total movement of that back of that body. Because if you fish a scrounger, you know as you reel that lip, it puts a vibration into it. The scrounger is a more subtle version of your chatterbait. So chatterbait's the same exact thing, guys. This is the 110 Gilly. Taking it straight out of the pack for you. And when I rig that Gilly on the back of a chatterbait, I'll rig it two different ways. A lot of times when the water's stained to dirty, I leave the skirt on. I leave that chatterbait skirt on it. But if I get put in a clear water, ultra clean water situation, guys, I rip the skirt off of that chatterbait. If it's hand tied, I rip it off, I cut it. If it's just got a regular rubber collar, I'll just pull it off. But either way, when I rig this Gilly on this chatterbait, it's giving it a unique action, more importantly, a unique profile. When they're feeding on panfish and bluegill, this is a better trailer for a chatterbait. Okay, on the scrounger and on the chatterbait, I want to talk to you about the rigging to make sure this bait stays straight. Okay, on the Wacky weighted nose hook, you heard me talk about that little dot on the bottom of the chin. When we rig it as a trailer on a scrounger or a chatterbait, we're not going to go from that bottom of the chin. We're going to go from the nose of the bait, the top of the nose, okay? So when you look at that 110 Gilly, it's got the point of the mouth, right? The perfect point of the bait. It's got the bottom chin, and then there's the nose. It's almost between the eyes and the tip of the head. So we actually we don't want to go right in the middle, right in the very tip of the bait. We want to go a little high, right almost between the nose and the mouth. And when we rig it, we want to pull it all the way back to where that thick body stops, right? We never want to get into that thin membrane part. When we pull it up, look what happens, guys. That thing stays perfectly straight. It's got a great keeper on the shank of that. So does the scrounger. And when we reel it, look at the profile of that bait, guys. Changes that chatterbait from a minnow or a crawfish to a panfish. Same thing with the scrounger. Look at the profile of that. The great thing about both of these is that bait really does all the work by itself. If you fished a chatterbait or a scrounger, you know you don't have to do much to it. You reel it in, you could kill it, maybe give it a pause or rip it through grass. Outside of that, those lips, scrounger lip and chatterbait lip, that's going to activate that thin membrane, and it's going to make these gillies come alive, okay? So anatomically correct, amazing action, but the most important thing on both of these techniques, guys, is that profile, right? Bluegill profile. I hope you enjoyed this video talking about 2 new secret ways to rig the Gilly. If you like these videos, do me a favor, stop right now, hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, tell your friends. Don't keep it all to yourself. Let them in on the good info. Have them subscribe to Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube. We're here to help you hopefully learn a few things and become a better fisherman. I hope you enjoyed that one. Try those 2 techniques with the Gilly. You're going to catch a lot of big fish. Bye. Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out in the shop. Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, you have to check out that one, and I hope you like them.